Well, good morning, everyone, from British Columbia, Canada. It is Monday morning. It's a beautiful, sunshiny day. There is a lot of activity going on around me, like some construction on the other side of the road, and of course, there's some traffic. But I did really want to record this message for you outside because it's such a beautiful day. And the topic is about, being outside. The topic today is about about a gate that ranch hands would use. And so, before I actually begin, let me ask you some questions. And as I ask them for you, I myself will ponder them. And then maybe at the end, I will either give my answers to you verbally, or I will add my answers to the video when I post it. Okay, so action question number 1. How does viewing God's commandments as a strong protective ranch gate change your perspective on obedience? Okay, so we're talking about God's commandments, okay, and because they are protective, when our attitude, when our perspective changes to us being obedient to the commandments, how does that change your perspective and mine? Very interesting question. So I'm starting to feel something stirring within me. In what areas of your life might you be testing the fence of God's commandments? As I ask this question, I think of this goat. There is a goat just down the street from us that apparently leaves its gated, its fenced area continually. It walks where it wishes, and the owner never worries about it because, like he said, he always comes home. So if you in any way, or I, if we're in any way like that, if we're testing the fence of God's commandments, do we promise to come back home, or are we going to run away? Can you recall a time when staying within God's boundaries protected you from spiritual harm? So I think what I can say to you about that is what's happening, something really interesting is happening in my life. And I mentioned it before. I've gone from like 400 or 500 Facebook friends, followers, to right now the number shows over 1,600. And most of the new people that are joining me are from Africa and Pakistan. And the messages that I'm getting are heart-wrenching. Some of them are heart-wrenching because they are in desperate need of food for the children. They're in desperate need of protection from floods. And I have to tell you this honestly. If I hadn't learned through my studies, through the practices of spiritual formation, I would not be sitting here today. I would have been trying to help everybody, do everything for them, and I'd be trying to, well, I don't know, when you don't have money, where are you going to get it from? But, I even started it a bit in the new year. I was trying to help 2 groups in another part of the world, and it just burnt me out. And so what I'm saying to you is God's boundaries for me are to do online ministry, but not in-person ministry, even if this in-person ministry is via online. It is very challenging to preach a message or to teach when you have an interpreter there, when people aren't able to show up because of this reason or that reason. It's very, very stressful when you need to keep attendance, to give people certificates. So God's boundaries protected me from spiritual harm when I listened to him, when he said, okay, now you tried it, this is not working for you, let's not do that anymore. Okay? So the next question is, how can you explain the concept of God's protective commandments to someone who views them as restrictive? So some people may say, and I have had people from other parts of the world basically tell me, yes, you are an apostle and you will work with us. You will do this with us and you will do that, so on and so forth. And so if I did what I used to do, okay, I would not have been able to say no, right? And what I'm trying to get at here, some people do not understand when I say no. They believe they have a deep need and that everyone should be lining up to help them, okay? And when I explain to them that that's not really how it works, right? If God doesn't call me to do ministry in certain places or in certain ways, I am out of his will, right? Love the Lord your God first, right? He has to always come first. People, no matter what situation they find themselves in, right? Even if I feel like crying my eyes out or throwing myself on the floor in desperation and praying for people, I can't help. I cannot help. The situations in parts of the world are so grave and so desperate that only God can help. So even though some people may say, Martina, God is not that restrictive. He allows you to reach out. He allows you to help us, to fly over, come visit us, kind of things. Well, yes, he may, but if he doesn't make provisions, okay, then chances are it's not his will. What practical steps can you take to strengthen your trust in the boundaries God has established for your life? Well, I don't know what you do, but I've kind of learned the hard way. Okay, so this week I will be 65 years old, and I have been in, how many years is that now? Since 2009, so 15 years. I've been in Christian education, from Bible school to seminary to now, and then postgraduate, and then now doctorate studies. So I have to tell you that there have been many, many ways of how God was teaching me boundaries. And I'm just waiting for the trucks to go by. It has not been fun, okay? I'm just going to say that to you. And if you find yourself in a place where life is not fun because God is really setting boundaries, firm boundaries with you, okay? Accepting that he means well and that he's teaching you for your future to help you become healthier and more mature in his ways, you can trust him. You can trust that even though it's very painful right now, that in the end, he means well and he has only your best in mind. Here are some applicable verses I'd like you to consider. 1 John 5:3. In fact, this is love for God, to keep his commands, and his commands are not burdensome, right? if I in any way, like when I was beginning this year, working with ministering to two ministries in the eastern part of the world and one in the southern part of the world. Okay, when I felt really burdened out, I felt burnt out, I felt burdened. And what I was doing, what was happening was just way too much for me. Okay, so I could tell that I was really out of his will. Now, John 10:9 says, Jesus, okay, I am the gate, is Jesus. Jesus is the gate, and whoever enters through me will be saved. I was thinking of an interesting example here that I probably have never shared, but in the late 1970s, my parents had gotten a job at the South Peace Stock Farms in northern British Columbia. And this farm was a huge farm, and it was owned in part by Dan Blocker and Lorne Green, if you remember the actors from Bonanza, right? So we worked for some very famous people, even though, if I think about it, one or two may have been dead already, but so to get back to what I'm trying to say to you, okay, if cattle, okay, let's say they have 500 cattle, and the cattle have a gate that opens up that takes them into the pasture, or the other gate takes them into the truck that takes them to the slaughterhouse, right? If they go through the wrong gate, okay, they will not be saved, right? They will become meat and be sold at the stores. So when we go through the right gate, okay, we will know, because with Jesus we will be free, even though the cattle, when they're out, in their fields, on the ranch, on the farm, there are dangers too. Like they're up in northern BC, there were coyotes and bears, grizzlies. So there was all kinds of dangers for the cattle as well. But knowing that we have entered the right gate with Jesus, we will be saved. Proverbs 2:11-12 says, discretion will protect you, and understanding will guard you. Wisdom will save you from the wicked men, from those whose words are perverse. And again, as I was writing this, I have to relate it to what's happening in my life right now. Having so many Facebook friends right now. And there are continual warnings coming up, of to be careful of scammers, right? And so it's important to be discerning of the people I connect with, right? And I'm discerning because it's I hope you can actually see me. It's so important to to know if someone thinks this is an old lady and she's easy to twist her emotions, and we can get her to help us, right? It's really easy for some people to scam others, but in my case, I really pray for discernment. And if someone is there who this is what happens sometimes. Someone will say, well, you are an apostle, right? You are an evangelist, and God told me you will be working with me. Excuse me? You know what? God would talk to me too. And he would say, Martina, so-and-so is going to connect with you, and I want you to do ministry with him. Like, for example, when I do ministry with Reverend Cyprian Africa from Talking with Jesus Ministries, And you know what? That I know is God's will, because I was referred to him through a friend, another doctoral student, right? And then without her telling him, he connected with me over Facebook. So I knew that God is in this. I still have a lot to learn, and I'm sure he does too, because I am interesting to work with. But that's how we can tell that there's a connection. So again, it's really important that we use wisdom, use discernment, so that we are protected from those who pretend to have God's best in mind for us. Psalm 119, verse 1, blessed are those whose ways are blameless, who walk according to the law of the Lord, right? And so walking blameless, that doesn't mean that we don't make errors, right? That doesn't mean that we, as people, none of us are ever perfect. There's only one who's ever been perfect, right? But as we are, as we walk according to the law, to the best of our ability, and if we have done something wrong, to apologize, to repent, and to turn from our ways, God keeps us safe. He has us in his hands. He holds us close. Psalm 91, 1-2. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. And I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Is that what you say? Do you say, God is my refuge and my fortress, no matter what I go through? I can't imagine the pain people in Kenya are going through right now, through the floods. Some of the stories I'm hearing is how people, many people have died, and they've lost a lot of their belongings, right? But can you still say, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust? I ask that, and even as I ask that, I know my voice is becoming gentler, because I don't know if I could, right? With all that destruction, with all that pain and suffering. But yet, he is there. He's there for you. He's there for me. I'm honestly not sure if you can actually see my eyes, but I need this hat on. Maybe that's better. So then to talk about the illustration here. A ranch gate is a simple, sturdy structure often found at the entrance of a large property, such as a farm or a ranch. It typically features two tall vertical posts made of wood or metal, planted firmly in the ground. At the top of the gate is often a thick, solid piece of wood stretching from one post to another, forming a doorway that one must pass under when entering. The gate might also have decorative elements such as the ranch name painted across the beam, and is designed to mark the property's boundary. Right? Again, I'm reminded of Bonanza, right? The TV show that was out. I believe it was in the 70s and in 80s, or maybe 60s, 70s. But I did watch it as a child. So psychologically, passing through a gate requires a mental shift from feeling free to move anywhere to acknowledging one is entering a controlled or private space. This transition is heightened by the physical presence of a beam, which one must literally pass under, making the act of intrusion more conscious and deliberate. Right? Even the gate, where is it? Is it found in John? Where it says it's easier for a camel to enter the gate than for a human being, right? And it's a very small gate. I'm reminded of that right now. This gate is like the commandments that God has given us. These aren't mere suggestions, but solid, immovable boundaries designed to protect us from spiritual dangers and guide us on the right path. They outline where we can safely tread and warn against the risk of wandering into precarious areas. Just as the ranch gate provides a safe enclosure for the property, its inhabitants, and livestock, God's laws enclose the best paths for our lives, offering protection and clear direction. The solid construction of a ranch gate gives us a tangible understanding of God's protective laws. Just as the gate is designed to secure and manage the ranch effectively, God's commandments safeguard our souls, steering us away from evil toward His will. It's interesting, isn't it? Because as people, we have a propensity to go the wrong way, right? We are attracted by those kinds of things that are not of God, right? And we are attracted to the temptations. Just something I'm thinking about at this moment. Like the horizontal beam of a ranch gate looming over our heads, signifying strength and boundary, so does God's word loom above us. It is a constant reminder that we live under His protection and authority, guiding us in all aspects of life. Even during war, even during floods. I just saw some very awful pictures of what tornadoes did. I believe it was in Nebraska in the United States. It says here, He guides us in all aspects of life. Do you believe that? Do I believe that? Trusting in God's commandments in every word of Scripture is similar to recognizing the strength of a well-built gate, a structure we rely on for safety and guidance. It's about trusting that within the parameters God sets, we find the greatest freedom and security. Let's commit to living confidently within these bounds, fully trusting that God's provisions and protections are always in place, just as a rancher trusts the gate to secure and protect their land. I don't know, as I was just ending the illustration that I got from Sermon Central, and those of you who have been listening to me the last while, you know that I get my sermon ideas from there. You know, how are you doing when you don't feel secure and protected? When you've gone down the wrong path, either willingly or you've ended down the wrong path because of natural disasters. It's been totally out of your control. Like how are you doing then? Do you need someone to talk to about your thoughts and feelings? And I understand you might be angry and upset, confused. Would you like information regarding spiritual wellness? I touched on that a bit, how I have really grown and matured, and how my inner formation, the spiritual formation, has really come a long ways from, in the beginning, being like quicksand, you know, where it was almost sucked under and become lifeless, to where now it's fairly firm, a firm foundation where I still head down different ways, which God may allow to teach me a lesson, right? Like I wouldn't be able to talk about the experiences I had in January if I hadn't been privileged to minister to the groups. So not everything we do is an error. God does allow us to learn through difficult times. Would you like information regarding spiritual wellness? You can find my appointment calendar below. I will attach it in the Facebook posts, and I will also attach it to the YouTube channel. I do bless you wherever in the world you are, whatever gate you've entered, and it is my prayer that you will find the right gate to Jesus. And if you have entered the right gate, that He will strengthen you, that the angels will undergird you as you go through trials and temptations, which again God allows for you to become stronger, a stronger believer, a stronger follower of Christ. I bless you from today, the Sunshine Coast, which is actually sunny, in British Columbia, Canada. Blessings.